debate, the honourable member for Davenport.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is a real pleasure for me to stand here on behalf of my constituents in the riding of Davenport to speak on Bill C-69, which is the Budget Implementation Act, number 1. It's legislation that will deliver on key measures from Budget 2024, a budget that's going to advance our government's plan to build more homes faster, make life cost less, and grow the economy in a way that helps generations get ahead. Budget 2024, Madam Speaker, is a plan to build a Canada where people of all generations have a fair chance to build a good middle-class life. A Canada where Canadians, especially young Canadians, can get ahead, where their work pays off, and where there are homes that they can afford. Fairness matters. Budget 2024 matters, and Bill C-69 matters.
The bill before us would implement a number of measures from the last budget, as well as policies announced by the government in recent months. I'm thinking in particular of the housing sector because, Madam Speaker, giving every generation a fair chance starts with housing.
One of the key elements of this plan is that it would improve the home buyer's plan. This is one of the programs that can help Canadians buy their first home. It allows people to withdraw money tax-free from their RRSPs to make a down payment for their first home, for their first house. Home buyers then pay themselves back over the years by putting the money back into their RRSPs. This program has been in place for over 30 years, and it has enabled thousands of Canadians to become homeowners. And Madam Speaker, I'm one of them. I use this program to buy my own home, and I'm delighted that we are expanding this program. Across the country, especially in major cities, home prices have gone up steeply. With rising prices, the amount needed for a down payment is now much greater. The housing market facing today's young families is different from what it was when the Home Buyers Plan was created, at a time when many of today's young buyers were not yet born. We still need to help first-time buyers save, but the support must keep pace with market prices. Madam Speaker, currently a person can withdraw $35,000 from an RSP to use in a home buyer's plan. As announced in Budget 2024, we've proposed to increase this limit to $60,000 per person. Pour les couples.
For couples, if both spouses meet the eligibility requirements of the home buyer's plan, the maximum withdrawal limit would increase from $60,000 to $120,000. This would enable more Canadians to buy the first home of their dreams.
In addition, Madam Speaker, we're proposing to temporarily extend the grace period during which home buyers are not required to repay their home buyer's plan withdrawals from 2 years to 5 years. This extension would apply to those who made a first withdrawal between 2022 and 2025 inclusive. Concrètement, quelqu'un
In concrete terms, someone buying this year in 2024 would not have to start repaying until 2029. In the medium and long term, the construction of new homes will contribute to lower real estate prices in Canada. That is why, in the April budget, we presented a plan to make 3.87 million new homes available by 2031. But we also need to act in the short term, and that's what the improvements to the home buyer's plan will do. Help Canadians buy a home and enjoy the quality of life of the middle class.
Madam Speaker, we want to help Canadians put a roof over their heads. Building more housing is key. Building more housing is one way. Helping Canadians buy their first home is another. We also need to ensure that homes are for Canadians to live in, not to be used as speculative assets for investors. Platforms such as Airbnb and Vibro are keeping tens of thousands of homes off the market, homes that Canadians cannot buy or rent on a long-term basis. We need to crack down on short-term rentals and that do not comply with provincial and municipal restrictions. In last year's fall's economic statement, we announced that we would introduce a measure to support provincial and municipal efforts in this area. Bill C-69 proposes legislation to do just that. Under this proposed legislation, tax deductions would no longer be available in computing income from a short-term rental. If the property is located in a province or municipality that has rules that prohibit or restrict the operation of short-term rentals, and the property does not comply with those rules, ces revenus seraient...
This income would be subject to tax with no offsetting deductions. By ending these tax deductions, the government is eliminating a financial incentive for non-compliant short-term rentals. These changes would be retroactive to January 1st, 2024. We also propose to introduce an incentive for owners of short-term rentals to return their properties to the long-term rental market.
This too will make more homes available for Canadians. Madam Speaker, another way to help Canadians find a place to live is to limit the number of homes that are left empty and often only kept as a passive asset. To counter this practice, an annual 1% tax is applied on the ownership of vacant or underused housing in Canada, and it's been in place since 2022. The tax generally applies to foreign owners. However, Canadian owners that own their residential property indirectly, so via corporation or partnership or trust, have been required to file an annual return even if they did not have to pay the tax. Bill C-69 proposes changes first announced last fall to facilitate the application of the law while ensuring that the tax is applied as intended. Le changement ferait en...
The change would ensure that more Canadian landlords are excluded from the application of the law, in particular, those who own their properties through entities that are all or almost all Canadian. As a result, they would not have to file an annual return for the tax on underutilized dwellings, nor would they have to pay the tax. We are also proposing to introduce a new exemption for homes used as employee housing in rural areas and communities with fewer than 30,000 residents. We are proposing these changes in response to constructive suggestions from Canadians.
Finally, Madam Speaker, Bill C-69 would extend by 2 years the existing ban on foreign buyers of Canadian housing, something we promised we would do back in January. The ban was set to expire January 1st of next year. Bill C-69 would extend it to 2027. Cela veut donc dire...
This means even more homes on the market for Canadians and less upward pressure on prices. All exceptions already in place would continue to apply, including to non-Canadians moving to Canada to build a new life.
Madam Speaker, Bill C-69 helps to make housing more affordable for every generation. For years and years in this country, if you found a good job, worked hard and saved money, you could afford a home. For today's young adults, that is under threat. Le projet de...
Bill C-69, like the 2024 budget, is about ensuring that the dream of being part of the middle class remains accessible to everyone, and that Canadians, including millennials and members of Generation Z can afford to buy a home. Thank you, Madam Speaker.